Last year in 2022, I had 15 days of PTO, probably just like you do, but I was away for 41 days, away from my home and away from my day-to-day routine. In today's video, I'm gonna share the 3 methods that I personally used last year in 2022 to be able to travel more. And I am making it my mission in 2023 to teach you all about how to travel more this year. So if traveling more is in your goals for 2023, make sure to subscribe to my channel because I'm gonna share everything that I know about it, and hopefully I'll be able to help you travel more this year. Before talking about my 3 methods on how I was able to travel more last year, I'm gonna go over 5 different methods that you might wanna try as well. Number 1, you can always travel more by traveling on a budget. This could mean hunting down the cheapest flights deal out there, or you can also stay at a hostel. You can also maybe contact your family or your friends that live somewhere where you wanna travel to, so you can maybe sleep on their couch to save money on hotels. Number 2, you can always travel more by house sitting or pet sitting for someone who lives in the country or city that you are planning to travel to. I actually found this idea from TikTok because there are apparently a few websites out there where you can get connected to people who live outside of your country who is actually going on vacation themselves but need someone to house sit or pet sit while they are away. But make sure you do a double, triple check on the website and make sure that they are legit before doing something like this. Number 3, I'm going to throw it in the list anyway, but you can definitely travel more when you're retired. And I am gonna give you a real life example of my parents-in-law. So my husband Ricky's parents have been retired for a few years now, and this is like the time where they actually get to enjoy their life and travel a lot more than usual. My father-in-law actually went on board the Symphony of the Seas last year with one of his buddies, and in January, my father and my mother-in-law actually went on a week-long trip to the East Coast. They actually had so much fun. They keep sending us pictures when they are traveling. They actually went to New York, Boston, Washington DC, and Buffalo, and they said they were having so much fun, so I'm glad that they had fun. And I almost forgot, I think a few years back, they actually went on a 14-day Hawaiian cruise from LA. I'm so glad that they're having fun. Number 4, speaking about cruising, you can also travel more if you get a job on a cruise ship. And if you don't like cruising, you can always get trained to become a flight attendant or go to school to become a pilot. I'm pretty sure in between your duties and responsibilities, you can somehow sneak in some travel in there. Lastly, number 5, if you want to travel more, you can always become a travel agent. I know a travel agent responsibility is to book clients for their own travel, but in order for a travel agent to be able to recommend something for their clients, the travel agent has to obviously experience the experience themselves. So if you follow Jessica Braun on YouTube, her husband Tyler actually own a travel agency, and they do specialize in Disney trips. So if there is something new at Disney that is happening or about to be open, like if there's a new restaurant or something like that, then the people at his agency has to, I mean, they don't have to, but I feel like it would be good practice for them to go to Disney, experience that new thing so they can recommend or not recommend that for their clients. Let me know in the comment below which one of these 5s you would actually do to travel more. And let me know also if you've probably done 1, 2, 3, or all of these things to travel more. Now that I share with you some of the other stuff that I think would be pretty cool to add into your strategy to travel more in 2023, I'm gonna go over the 3 things that I personally used last year to be able to travel more. Method number 1 for me is travel hacking. I actually have a few travel hacking videos on my channel, so I will be linking the playlist either up above and in the description box below so you can check it out. UC Miles and Points actually have helped me and my family to be able to travel more last year. If you are new to travel hacking, here is what it is in under 60 seconds.
I don't know if I can actually do like the timer on the screen, but let's give it a try.
So in the US, the top banks offer travel credit cards with awesome travel benefits. So once you apply and get approved for those credit cards, and after you meet the minimum spend within a time frame that they dictate, you get rewarded with bonus points, and people usually call it sign up bonus points or SUB. I'll just call it points. These banks have their own travel portal where you can actually use those points to either buy a flight or even book a hotel stay. However, I would highly recommend transferring those points to these banks' travel transfer partners to stretch your points a little bit more. If you want to know which airline or hotel is a partner for which bank, I actually have a free cheat sheet you can download. The link will be in the description box below. So if you're deciding whether or not you want to open a card with Chase, American Express, Capital One, or Citibank, and you want to see if your favorite airline is their transfer partner, make sure you go check it out. So let me give you a few examples on how I was able to use my miles and points to travel more. And I feel like if we didn't have any miles or points, we probably wouldn't even travel because we wouldn't pay all of this in cash. The first redemption that I did was actually to buy my mom's flight from Jakarta, Indonesia to fly to LA. My sister decided to elope in September. She told me this news in August, and it kind of left me scrambling to find my mom's flight ticket because obviously we want my mom to be there, she wants to be there, and I was just trying to see if I can make it happen. Because it is a last minute flight, obviously it's gonna be expensive, and I forgot to take a screenshot of how much the flights would be if we were to pay cash. But I remember when I first started looking, kind of like early August, it was $800, and then it went up to $1,100, and then it went up to maybe $1,800 because I remember I was telling my sister like, hey, do you think we can split the cost because it's gonna be expensive, and it was gonna be like $600 a person. So I'm pretty sure the last time I looked the cash price for those flights, it was gonna be about $1,800. But for some reason, I just later remembered that I could use my miles and points so we don't have to pay cash out of pocket. So I used 88,000 of my Chase points. I transferred that to United, and I was able to get my mom a round trip economy international flight tickets from Jakarta to LA and back to Jakarta on ANA for 88,000 points. I mean, it's probably not the best like redemption, but then it's still a win for me because we didn't have to spend $1,800 for those tickets. The second redemption that I did was actually a 3-night stay in downtown Boston. Last November, the organization that I work for finally held its first in-person retreat, and it was in Boston because the organization is based in Boston. And because I've never been to Boston before, I wanted to extend like my trip over the weekend so we could sightsee a little bit. My coworker actually already told me that it's gonna be expensive, and they were not wrong. So when I was looking at some of the hotels around downtown, it was gonna cost me about $1,100 to stay for 3 nights. And I don't know about you, but that is a lot of money in my opinion. But thankfully, I was able to transfer my Chase points to my Hyatt account so I can book that 3-night stay with 51,000 Chase points instead of paying $1,100 out of pocket. Recently, I also helped my sister to book a hotel stay for a popular music festivals that she's going to attend. She was about to spend thousands of dollars on hotel, but I was able to help her out with 100,000 of my points, and she ended up only spending about $600 out of pocket. Without my miles and points, my mom would not be able to witness my sister's elopement last year. I wouldn't have a chance to actually stay a little bit over in Boston for the very first time. Without my miles and points, my sister would have to drive about an hour every time from the music festival venue and probably pay thousands of dollars. I am happy that my miles and points can help me travel more, but I'm even happier that it actually helped my family members to travel more as well. Before moving on to the second method, and if you have been following along and you found this to be great value for you, let me know by liking this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more about travel tips and hacks to travel more in 2023, just like this one. Method number 2 is cruising, and I know cruising is not for everybody, but it was actually one of the ways that I was able to travel more last year, so I'm putting it on my list. I believe that you don't need to fly or be somewhere halfway across the world to say that you have traveled somewhere. Even when you're going somewhere close by, but you get a chance to actually get away from your house, get away from your day-to-day routine, I still think that is a win. I was able to actually went on 3 cruises in 2022, all of them within North America, and I also was able to check off one item off of my travel bucket list. Let me know in the comment below if you are into cruising and if you've been able to check off one of the things off your travel bucket list because of a cruise, because I think we need to hear a lot more of those wins. Let me just tell you where I've been last year on a cruise. First cruise that we did in 2022 was back in May. We were able to go on a long weekend cruise on board the Navigator of the Seas over Mother's Day weekend. Honestly, I was super happy about that cruise because I found a really good deal for a guaranteed balcony cabin. And if you are into cruising, you probably know that the popular state for cruise ports is Florida, and I live in Vegas, so it's a little bit far, but if I was able to find a good cruise out of LA, that's better because it's only about 45 minutes away from Las Vegas if you're flying. It was a very short cruise, only stop in Ensenada, but I was still so happy that I get to experience a new cruise ship that I've never been on before. Like I mentioned before, I booked this cruise because I found a really good deal, but then at the same time, I was also pricing Disneyland. We haven't been to Disneyland in a long time. We had an annual pass back in, I want to say 2017, but we've never been back because obviously we live in Vegas now. So when I was pricing Disneyland and the Navigator of the Seas cruise, obviously the Navigator is way cheaper and way more affordable, so I decided to go on a cruise out of a whim on Mother's Day weekend, and it actually turned out to be my favorite Royal Caribbean cruise ship so far. And then less than a month later, in June of 2022, we flew to Seattle, checked in into Quantum of the Seas, and we cruised to Alaska. And this is actually one of the items on my travel bucket list. Ever since forever, I've always wanted to go on a cruise to Alaska. I know people said that it's boring, there's nothing else to do. Let me tell you, my favorite short excursions in Alaska is when we trekked the Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau. It was raining for the whole day. We had to canoe or kayak for 45 minutes one way, and we have to kayak back for another 45 minutes, but it was just super awesome. If you're curious about how I booked it, I will leave the link down below. I actually booked it through TripAdvisor. The guides were super professional. They make sure that we were safely doing our excursion, and they also got us back into port pretty much like 2 hours before all aboard time. It was just an amazing experience. 10 out of 10. I will leave the link below. Lastly, we actually went on board the Discovery Princess in November 2022. It was a Mexican Riviera cruise. We actually booked this cruise for 2021, but then we postponed it for a year because it turned out that I didn't plan well in 2021, and we basically ran out of PTO and we could not take any more day off, so we moved it to 2022. And that was actually a good thing because I think we were gonna go on Royal Princess, and then we actually get to experience Discovery Princess, which is Princess Cruises' newest ship. So it was just cool that everything worked out pretty well at the end. The Mexican Riviera cruise obviously only go to Mexico, but then we actually get to stop at Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta, and we've never been to those ports before, and we had so much fun at each of the ports. I'm gonna hopefully be able to make like a trip report video maybe sometime down the line, so make sure to subscribe if you want to know more about Discovery Princess. Before moving on, do me a favor, leave a comment down below and let me know what is your favorite cruise line. We mostly sail with Royal Caribbean, so I'm gonna say that Royal Caribbean Cruise Line is my favorite line, but let me know what is yours and maybe we'll try it out in the future. Method number 3 is maximizing your holiday and PTO that you already have from work. In last week's video, I actually talk a little bit more deeper about this method, so if you want to watch it after this video, I will link it up above and also in the description box below. But here are just like the gist of what they are. So the first method that you can use to maximize your holiday and PTO is what I call the long weekend week. Basically, you want to find a holiday where you are off on Friday or Monday, and instead of just taking that short weekend off, you take the whole week off, so you can travel for about 8 days and probably take about 4 days of PTO. So you basically would fly out to your destination on the weekend, take the whole week to explore your destination, and then fly home the following weekend. Some of the holidays that I like to use this method on is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, and I guess Veterans Day if you have that holiday off. The second method is what I call the long weekend or make your own long weekend. It's pretty similar to the first method, but instead of taking the whole week off, you just basically use the long weekend to go on vacation. You can probably use the same holidays that I mentioned on the first one, but some ideas you can do is maybe go on a long weekend cruise. You can maybe find a holiday on like the Friday or Monday and then just go on a long weekend cruise. You can always make your own long weekend. So just like I did with the Navigator of the Seas cruise, I just make the Mother's Day weekend my own long weekend where I go on a really quick long weekend cruise. The third one is for the brave ones, and this is what I call the over Thanksgiving travel. I know some people might not want to travel over Thanksgiving because they probably are spending it with family. However, if I were you and I've spent all of my Thanksgiving with family when I was younger, I feel like if you want to do a travel over Thanksgiving maybe once or twice, I'm pretty sure your family would understand. But anyways, it is an option if you want to travel over Thanksgiving because usually people are off on Thursday and Friday. You have like two holidays kind of like next to each other, and you can definitely do a 2-week travel, but you only take like about 8 days of PTO. We are definitely going to leverage over Thanksgiving travel. This year, we are planning to travel to Japan for the very first time in November. It is over the holiday, and I know it could be crazy during the holiday, but I will definitely report back to you and I'll let you know if we want to do it over again in 2024. There are actually a few more work-related methods that I used last year to travel more. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss learning how Ricky's 980 schedule has become my best friend when planning our travel.